Pre-colonial era. The history of the land we now call the United States began long before European settlers arrived. For thousands of years, Native American tribes thrived across the continent, developing diverse cultures, languages, and societies. From the plains to the forests, their way of life was deeply connected to the land. Colonial period, 1492 to 1776. In 1492, Christopher Columbus's voyages opened the door to European exploration. Over the next centuries, Spain, France, and England established colonies. By the early 1600s, England had created permanent settlements, including Jamestown, 1607, and Plymouth, 1620. These colonies grew into the 13 original colonies along the eastern coast. Colonial life was marked by a mix of cooperation and conflict with Native Americans, struggles for survival, and the development of commerce. However, tensions with Britain grew due to high taxes and lack of representation, setting the stage for revolution. The American Revolution and Independence, 1776 to 1783. In 1776, the 13 colonies declared their independence from Britain by signing the Declaration of Independence, authored by Thomas Jefferson. This act sparked the Revolutionary War, with George Washington leading the Continental Army. After years of battles, the colonies triumphed, and the Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the United States as an independent nation. The Founding Fathers soon drafted the U.S. Constitution in 1787, establishing a democratic government with checks and balances, and George Washington became the first president in 1789. Expansion and conflict, 1800 to 1860. The 19th century was a period of rapid expansion. Through events like the Louisiana Purchase, 1803, the annexation of Texas, and the California Gold Rush, the United States extended its territory from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This idea of westward growth was known as manifest destiny. However, the expansion also brought challenges, including conflicts with Native Americans, wars with Mexico, and deepening divisions over slavery. The country was becoming increasingly polarized between the North, which opposed slavery, and the South, which depended on it. The Civil War and Reconstruction, 1861 to 1877. In 1861, these divisions erupted into the Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in U.S. history. The war, fought between the Union, North, and the Confederacy, South, centered on the issues of slavery and states' rights. After 4 years of devastating battles, the Union, led by President Abraham Lincoln, emerged victorious. The war ended slavery, but Lincoln's assassination in 1865 left the nation with the challenge of rebuilding during the Reconstruction era. Reconstruction sought to reintegrate the Southern states and grant rights to formerly enslaved people. Despite the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which abolished slavery and granted citizenship and voting rights, progress was slow, and racial discrimination persisted. In the early 20th century, the U.S. played a role in World War I, marking its emergence as a global power. The war's end in 1918 solidified the nation's influence on the world stage. The Great Depression and World War II, 1929 to 1945. The 1930s were defined by the Great Depression, a period of economic collapse that left millions unemployed. President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal to revive the economy and provide social safety nets. In 1941, the U.S. entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The war effort united the nation and brought an end to the Great Depression. By 1945, the U.S. and its allies had defeated the Axis powers, and the country emerged as a global superpower. The Cold War and Civil Rights, 1945 to 1980. The post-war period saw the U.S. in a tense rivalry with the Soviet Union, known as the Cold War. This era was marked by events like the space race, the Vietnam War, and the fight against communism. At home, the civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, fought against racial segregation and inequality. Landmark achievements like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 transformed American society. Modern era, 1980 to present. The late 20th century brought technological advances, economic growth, and cultural influence. The Cold War ended in 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union, solidifying the U.S. as the world's leading superpower. The 21st century brought challenges like the 9/11 attacks, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and economic crises, but also saw innovation in technology and space exploration. Today, the United States is known for its diversity, global influence, and pursuit of innovation,